Hello and welcome to my July 9th update of my GTNH playthrough. Right now I am just enjoying the sight of this fuel being back up to full. I've been running into so many power problems, but that is not really what we fixed today with or any of the progress today, so to speak, because I didn't have to make any big crafts today like the last few days that ended up killing all my power and taxed my AE system more than I realized, which part of it was due to my own not reading, because if you look at the AE quest book, I believe it is this one right here. These cards add additional functionality. The capacity card adds more slots for items to use them. And then where is it? In any interface, if you put a knife down somewhere in here. Well, as you can see, it's hard to read. And, sometimes you just skip over it. But anyways, the point is, if you use more capacity cards, it expands the amount of items that you can craft with. Actually, you know what? Maybe it's this guy. You may notice, blah, blah, blah. It also uses 4 times the energy for every item when crafting, and this is multiplicative for each new card. So if you're doing large crafts, so it's actually quite taxing. Which luckily my main the actual molecular crafters are the only ones that are really decked out with 3, and I don't have a lot of recipes in there because I prioritize just popping down a bunch of single block assemblers. It's still a lot of energy. But anyways, on to what I actually did today. So I set this up just because I was running out of room, and actually, damn, I made a lot of dust. But anyways, I basically rehauled this area. I tore down everything that was right here. And I cleaned it up a lot. So basically, at the end of yesterday, the back of this wall looked like this wall because I had individual lines running to each different process. I don't know why it didn't just occur to me to just use regulators and or item filters in front of every single thing. That way and that includes like item filters in the actual conduit where necessary instead of one of these guys. But it made it so much cleaner. I could just pull out of right here. I still have the input and output lines separate. I don't remember why. Why is that like that? Get out of here. Anyways, so I got all this set up. It's actually, and then the main like catalyst for this was I did finish building my multiple macerators, multiple centrifuges. So now I'm doing this at 8 times the speed. It is finally starting to catch up. Yesterday when I left off, this was like backlogged like crazy. I couldn't even like pull all the combs out. Now if we come over to where my combs are actually stored right here, you can see they're all chilling at 0. So that's very nice. I'm getting a lot more resources. I mean, this part's still a little backlogged. But I think once it actually catches up, and it is catching up, like this is a lot less items than it had before, it won't have as many problems unless I keep adding more bees. And then if it does, I'll just expand as I go. That's no big deal. I'll probably, every time I expand, just expand in banks of 8 until I get to the point that I unlock the multi-block versions of these guys. One of the other things I did to help, as I mentioned at the beginning, I was out of power. The main bottleneck of said power is nitrogen. The way I'm currently getting most of my nitrogen is through my salt bee, because you can centrifuge this guy, then it turns into like a chance of turning into salt, rock salt, or saltpeter, and then you electrolyze the saltpeter for nitrogen. Also electrolyze the salt and the rock salt for chlorine, but we're like swimming in chlorine. But as you can see, the nitrogen here is out. My oxygen's also was struggling a little, but that one was more from a mishap on my part. I had accidentally had a tank somewhere in the network set to void mode, and I destroyed of my oxygen supply, and actually did the same thing for hydrogen, but those should both be catching up now. But yeah, so this is just a lot cleaner. I was able to recoup a ton of item conduits, which was nice, you know, for doing this. I also started to utilize actual color, so I thought it would be kind of fun to go with the thermal expansions blue for going in. Doesn't really work right here, but pulling out on the blue line to insert here, and pulling out on the orange lines, and then same over here. And as I need to, it clears up some space, and I'll be able to start adding in some other passives. Because the other thing I wanted to do, and we can get to my big mix-up for the day, was I set up this this multi-smelter, which is really cool because it like goes at like 8 times the speed of a regular smelter, and then you know, get paralyzed, blah blah blah. The thing is, and it kind of mini gripe, because the quest book has been really good and I don't want to complain about it too much, but and I could have seen it by looking at the interface myself and reading, so you know, all that. I would have upgrade this, but no warning, and the warning being, if this guy right here, voiding mode, excess items and fluids, and you cannot change that. So what I actually did was I had all my dust over here, send over into here, and then I was just gonna be like, alright, I'll just keep this at this amounts here, and then when these dip low, you know, they'll just pull in, because I have basically diamond upgrades on everything over here. Turns out, no, it just starts voiding, so I actually voided a ton. Like, I think I lost like 4,000 gold, like something like 10,000 iron, 10,000 copper, a decent amount of tin, but I just have this off for now. I think what I'm gonna go with is I might just do like an individual furnace for each one of these, and I have some ideas for how I want to do it, just that way I have dust and an ingot form in the A network. That way I'm not having to wait on it one way or the other, whether I'm mixing something up or I'm using the ingots for different crafts. Let's see. This little setup right here is just to passively get me some clay dust, which I reset up my clay because I had taken that down, but I was using clay to make bricks here. But now I got these because I wanted the clay dust, because I was using the clay dust for concrete, which I'll show you what for here in a minute. But anyways, because of all this, like I said, I set up a separate second salt drone, got this guy going on here to get my clay moving again. I did not make any progress on this super structure or either of these towers, and little minor things. I had shut this line down because I pulled the fuel super tank for it to help power the AE network while I was running in my power problems. But on to the power problems. So in the near future, I want to get into nuclear. And so far I've set up this as where I'm gonna do the nuclear. I think it looks kind of cool. There's obviously going to be like some buildings here. I'm kind of do those nuclear silos over each circle with like a control building in the middle. I don't know how much space I really need. I've never messed around with nuclear, even though most of the time I've played modded Minecraft, it's been older. I used to, funnily enough, strongly dislike IC2 at some point. I don't know. Greg took New Horizons is amazing. Everyone should play it, and it's changed my mind about a lot of these things that I used to dislike. But part of it's how well this pack is progression and stuff is set up. So yeah, it's the start of the nuclear plant. That's just obviously all cosmetic. There's no wires or anything. This is literally just flat ground. I don't even have like a basement. I think the aesthetic I'm gonna go for is just kind of some supports and stuff under here to have it be like floating above the water, because it's the nuke plant, and I don't know, it'd be kind of funny. But tomorrow my goals are to at least get this built up, both sides for the roof, while I kind of read and figure out what to do with nuclear. I don't think the only other thing I immediately want to get set up in the near future, which shouldn't take long because they're already crafted, is over back here set up I want to set up the 4 blast furnaces, especially now that my power's caught back up. so I can at least have a bunch of these guys that are blast furnace dust, like the tantalum, the titanium, and all that, just in ingot form, and just speed up my crafts all that much more. So I'm not waiting on blast furnaces, even though it is. These make things so nice. They're so much faster having this multi-smelter setup. But like I said, the main goal, I don't know how much progress I'll have tomorrow. Hopefully build the structure out here so it has a little bit of roof, and if I get get a lot of free time, maybe I'll set up my first nuclear reactor, because I definitely have thorium and stuff. So anyways, thank you for listening to the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye.